Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have an interesting one here for you guys today. It is a ranked match, Captain versus Captain. Canadian over here playing the blue 4 side, and, well, he's playing a Canada deck, which seems apt. And Salty Bulgarian is the red 4 player for this Punch Bowl match, and he's going to be playing as, I think it was a red 4 armored. So there were no heavy tanks, there were nothing like that, but it definitely did have the persistence and the unit diversity of a generic red 4, probably armored deck. Now, right off the bat, you can see that the Grizzlies are getting on their way toward Bravo, a big investment in Charlie and Bravo, and again, not so much in Echo, so it is that sort of ranked game meta as opposed to the wild and crazy frontier of us noobs in the Echo Foxtrot Slugfest. But this is going to be a unique game. Canada doesn't really have as many tools as Commonwealth or even arguably things like Anzac, which make a pretty mean mechanized deck, but they do specialize in a couple of things, and among those are Grizzlies, which, in 10 points, they're not exceptional, but they are fast, they have 1 armor, and lots of fire supports. We have Maw, we're going to have some Pioneers unloading the Grizzlies as well, and that is going to be a tough thing to deal with in numbers. Ito 90 spotted right off the bat, and you can see that Bulgarian is sort of mirroring this investment, very light investment in Foxtrot, mostly a holding force, more of a formality than anything else, and these Pioneers are getting on the way, opening up with those M9 Napalm, I guess, backpacks, and it did quite a number on the CC. I was pretty impressed, and the Grizzlies are trying to get through and nearly make it too. I mean, that Ito's taking a bit of damage, but they're not able to get away from Raskazin Korojima, one of my favorite units in the entire game, of course belonging to Finland, Finnish infantry, and some of the longest range fire support options on Red 4, I think. So there are, I mean, for infantry anyway, there are Jeeps, of course, that have, 1750, that sort of range, but, I mean, this went pretty well. These Pioneers are relatively cheap, 15 points each, and, I mean, yeah, they're triple stacked, and they are getting shoot through whenever they fight vehicles, but as far as the initial infantry engagement went, that could have gone worse. Now, what you're going to notice here, a couple things. First off, lots of planes, and unfortunately, a Freedom Fighter going down, but then also these Grizzlies probably could have got the edge on that Pion, just because I don't think either player knew what was going on there. That looks like he was still moving while he was shooting, so not an attack move there, and whatever infantry were there would have been able to get a side shot or a rear shot and take down that Pion. So, a bit of an unfortunate happenstance up in Delta, kind of denied Canadian a foothold in that enemy 2-point zone. Now we have to worry about a Pion coming this way, potentially doing some other things there. It can get ugly quick. Blowpipes intercepted in the open ground. Probably think their transports were killed. There is an ATGM team. Classic placement is right here, and that seems to be the case right now. So I do love the ATGM and Raskazin Korojima backup. That is a remarkably flexible team. Meanwhile, there is some sparring going on here. Raskazin Korojima, again, using those long-range standoff weapons to take down some Grizzlies in the town. But this is going to be one hell of a slog. Grizzlies, you can see, these guys are getting shot by that same Pion, more than likely. And we're going to have a lot of air raid sirens going off, but Starfighters, of all things, you don't see that all that often. Freedom Fighter is a bit more common, but in 3 500 kilogram bombs for 70 points really isn't that bad. And, well, it's going to be basically a contest of if Canadian can wear his opponent down. Yep, there's the Pion. If he can wear him down with sheer air tap, or if this is going to be, well, a match that comes down to the enemy armor and greater diversity of units. Of course, Red 4 General is a very flexible deck, so I've never really had any success with it. I kind of get overwhelmed by all the options, honestly, but it's going to be an issue. Particularly you have, so Finnish Itos are going to be a problem, the Raskazin Korojima, the lack of ATGMs for Canadians is also going to be quite an issue, because I mean, Maws are nice, but they're short range, and that Leopard 1C, sorry, C1 rather, I think is the heaviest he has outside of maybe the Chimera, which, yeah, it's not a very heavy tank at all, and these Grizzlies are getting intercepted as well, so it looks like right now Bulgarian has gotten control of this main town, at least a little. That's the Ito moving back, so here comes a bomber, and hitting nothing by the look of it. Starfighter going in. I hadn't really expected to see that many direct fire rocket pod planes, but I mean, if they work, they work, right? And that Ito is overstressed trying to come in. My only comment, I guess, for Bulgarian would be seeing the sheer number of planes, I would have brought in something else. So even if it's just a second Ito, that little bit better reliability will start really putting a hurt on Canadians' air tab. Canadian Airborne, of course, are, I think, pretty nice. I know their tertiary is a bit funny. I can't remember if it's slightly above average or slightly below, but no, I think they're not a horrible option, of course. Shock Infantry, 20 points. bog standard, and the Carl Gustav M2 does have decent AP power. I mean, there's better, but can't complain really. And these Pioneers catching CC in the open ground, this is what they were made to do. Look at that, down to 2, and ooh, screen shaking getting in so close. 1, can they not get the kill there? Oh, I think they did. A wrist launcher would have gotten that right away though. Avia 28 bomber coming in, and the bombs going after the Pions is a little bit weird. Given that Vision was on the Ito 90, I mean, yeah, I'm backseat driving, and that's always easier than front seat driving, but given that he knows the Ito 90's position, this is, I expect, going in after that Ito, and probably going to hit it. Let's take a look. Bombs are dropped. Ito 90 is right there, a bit to the left. Really unfortunate the Ito did escape that bombing run. That happened to be just a bit to the left of the true position, so that is going to be an unsuccessful attempt there. Cougar Recons are... these guys are kind of reliable. I've used them before. Their main gun is interesting. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, and it's not going to necessarily be a high-performance vehicle, in my opinion anyway, but it can be very interesting indeed. Starfighter this time, probably going in direct fire. Yep, that's a nice way to kill a spotted Ito, and a pretty nice return on investment as well. I actually don't know what the A51 is. Oh, cluster bomber. Well, Hornet actually did manage to take him out, so Canadian Air Tab coming in clutch here as this game progresses, and you can see Bulgarian is forced back out of Bravo. He did have it before, and there is still a presence in the northern bit, is my guess. I mean, it looks like there were infantry here, maybe here, and then you can definitely crunch down from this side, and especially if Bulgarian has units over in Delta and knows that he has, I mean, we can't see that, but if you can start encroaching into here, maybe get some infantry forward on these sections, you can deny your opponent a chance to move down, and then really just come in from this direction, deny your opponent fire support options there, and crunch through the town from the north. So Electric Voodoo coming in, and that HQ-61 is not going to get out alive, but another Avia bomber is going to be making its mark here. And the only issue with this is that I'm not sure, so Pioneers are relatively cheap. This guy's going to have to land a couple good bombing runs to make it worthwhile. And we've already seen that Canadian has been pretty quick on the air defense, although that time not quite quick enough with that Hornet. And the Canadian Airborne do get one last kill before they'll probably be taken out by some Chinese infantry. Canadian Airborne also trying to push this town. Has probably seen reinforcements by this bit, I would imagine. And I think that was Ruskazin Korima in the back there. Actually, T-55s making the difference. Bombing run coming in to try to nail them again. The lack of true ATGM plane is really hurting here, because an ATGM plane would have popped in, killed the T-55, probably killed both of them, and then just popped out, depending on the number of ATGMs, of course, but something like a Peace Pheasant 2 or, the A-10, we would have gotten that done pretty quickly. Tanka Shashao and ZSD's Freedom Fighter coming in, probably targeting the Tanka Shashao, and I can't imagine this is going to be fun. Let's take a look. Tanka Shashao, and down to 7, 4, one group killed, and their support killed as well, so very nice bombing run there. Basically made those guys not effective, I would say. Hornet is still circling, and this has been a knockdown, drag-out fight in Bravo alone. Electric Voodoo, I think it's good to have that continual seed presence. Probably what the Hornet was there for was a bit of a bait. See if he's going to send in an ASF, and if he doesn't, bring out the Voodoo, and that can be very nice. But Canadian Airborne do get killed, and this is looking pretty scant. It's going to be an issue moving forward. But I mean, the Starfighters are still getting their nice little tacks in. Every single kill that they get is pretty good, and blowpipes are very cheap. So if the bombers and those rocket pod planes can keep doing good work, this could be a very interesting game, particularly because we can see Canadian has a very, very dominant hold on the air. There's been no follow-up Ito 90. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but Highlanders moving in, their Grizzlies unfortunately taken down. That's going to be the Pion back there, just asserting his dominance all over this game. I imagine that's probably going to be the MVP unit for Bulgarian, unless something drastic changes, but I can't really see that happening. And, I don't know, there's really nothing going on over here. I mean, a single scout vehicle would have been so effective there. Huh, well, Starfighters going in, probably for the T-55, single point of health left, and no more. Nice cheeky kill. I mean, these guys are very cheap. 70 points. Oh, okay, that's not very cheap. But they have good rocket pods, it seems. Not enough to reliably get through heavy armor, but if you can take things down over time, it certainly can add up. Ooh, here's the double stack of Ito 90s. There we go. That is, yep, that's exactly what I wanted to see. And now the only thing he has to worry about is not the seed plane, but a rocket pod plane coming in while they're spotted, right? So if there had been a follow-up from a rocket pod plane, it would have hit one or both directly in transit. But without ATGMs, that's going to be a hard thing to uproot, and I think the Voodoo is sticking around. Yep, he's sticking around for exactly that reason, trying to spot for a Starfighter, but no dice there as the Itos do. Oh, spotted, but already on the T-55. That really sucks, because that's going to be, yep, dead plane, and that very well could have been a dead couple of Itos, and instead, I mean, these gunships are flying right into the face of it. There's not going to be much success there, but I think that was just a distraction tactic. Look at that. Freedom Fighter coming in, not relying on vision anymore, and let's see if he predicted the movement. A little bit to the left, double bombing run, triple, no. Oh man, if the Starfighter had maintained vision, it's actually stunned and panicked by the area of effect of those bombs, actually, which is kind of hilarious, but the Ito 90 is able to escape, and a single ATGM plane would have been far more effective at that. So the Canadian arsenal, kind of a double-edged sword. You get some very nice veterancy going with Canada, but very nice availability too. But yeah, that's rough. The fact that this is always something that bothers me too. I've sent in bombers or I've sent in ATGM planes before, and they're spotted, gone right before you're looking to aim and fire. And I wonder if it's just something about the rhythm, the timing, that you have to sort of anticipate a bit more than be reactive, because other players are thinking about that. They don't want their stuff spotted that long. They're going to try and get something around it, and yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting day to say the least. But 106mm recoilless rifles coming in, quad stack. I mean, 40 points of pretty effective fire support there. Something I need to learn how to use more effectively as well. But Avia, yeah, okay, Avia's fine, I think. Ooh, did he kill it? No, there's the Avia, and the Itos took down that Hornet. So another kill from the Red 4 player there, and not something that Canadian can really take for that much longer. But Freedom Fighters, are they chasing? Are they gun running in Avia? Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. You don't see that every day, and oh, they got the kill. Jeez, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. Freedom Fighters gun running in Avia and getting the kill. Man, these guys must be out of ammunition or close to it, because they didn't really fire that much, and they have been using up a lot, but there are a couple of KPIs right next to them, so maybe they're out of supply? Yeah, I mean, those things don't last forever. Triple stack of Leopard C1s trying to spar with a Pion, and he is pretty damaged. That's down to 4, 1. It looks like 1 point of damage from each C1, so they're barely inside of penetration range. Starfighter could have gone in, didn't. If those Itos are killed, though, I think this could swing back in Canadians' favor as the game progresses. This is one of the most strange games I've seen in a long time, but I am grateful as always for the community cast. It's a nice fun thing for me to do. And down go both of the Itos in a single, look at that, right there next to each other. 1, 2, single Starfighter run. Beautiful, beautiful value on that. Of course, they did get a fair number of kills beforehand, but youch. So that can't have been fun. More Highlanders, more Canadian Airborne, and I think this is what this deck is designed to do, is just be a constant presence in the air. And, well, if it's not, it's certainly something that I would consider. We're going to go on to, just because, I mean, we're just watching bombing runs at this point, and quite honestly, that's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, but there really isn't much going on anywhere else for me to show you right now, and that was relatively true of a fair portion of the game. So you can see, I mean, the endless bombing runs are taking their toll on Bulgarian's arsenal here. This is the downside of that unit diversity that you get from being generic Red 4. You get way fewer activation points, which means, of course, that you have some trouble if the game goes long, right? So if something's really atrocious and you just are running out of infantry, running out of cards, you're going to have less availability per card, and you're going to have fewer cards. So it's something that is something, it's worth considering. Certainly when you're building your deck, it is worth considering. But BTR-70 making his way all the way around, shooting at a Grizzly, and it looks like Bulgarian might be finally trying to shoot that gap at just the wrong time, as Canadians called in a Grizzly CP and is trying to secure Charlie. Delta has been capped for a little while now, 164 points for the salty Bulgarian, and that needs to be taken care of. But I mean, watching this match go on, I wouldn't have been able to pick a better time to do it than now, because you can't just let your opponent take the middle zone in a game like this, with a deck like this. You need to keep that constant contact, you need to get value out of those bombers, and just keep things going and going and going and going, but that's going to be answered by a single ATGM plane, and not exactly a powerful one either, but it does get the kill on the first shot. 20% stabilizer, ladies and gentlemen, that is all it takes when it hits. But Bravo has been pushed out again, and that's another blowpipe that's going to be a very sad, sad man. Of course, might get the 8T. Let's see. Not great accuracy, not great. I mean, 4 HE on a 5-point blowpipe. I mean, hey, if it works, right? But it doesn't work there, as the Raskas and Korima do get the long-range kill. Grizzly CP is here, and that CH-118 is just scanning through the trees, trying to make sure there's nothing missed. So I actually wonder if he has any sort of recon helicopter or anything like that. Maybe not. Not terribly familiar with the Canadian National Armory, which, well, how many times do you see that instead of seeing something like just Commonwealth, right? So, not exactly the most usual pick, but the Starfighters now getting a couple of kills on Mi-8Ts, and I think this might be a sign of Bulgarian having to reach down a little bit further into his arsenal to keep this game going, because that certainly didn't look like a first pick to me, and Freedom Fighters moving in once again, bomb after bomb after bomb, might even kill the 8Ts, does. Oh man, not quite as crazy as killing them with napalm, which happened to me the other day, unfortunately, but still very unpleasant. W3T Sokol, but more Freedom Fighters, and this just has to be a horrible, horrible sinking feeling for Bulgaria as the game progresses. I mean, Charlie's capped now, Delta's capped, there's no taking war score passively, there's no sparring going on in Echo Foxtrot, but I've been on the other side of this before, and you just get into this mindset of, well, you need to bring more in, get men up to the front line again and again and again and again and again, and then you start overlooking other things. And it's amazing how quickly time can fly during that as well. I mean, I've had games where I've looked up and I've realized I've just spent the last 20 minutes sending infantry to the front line and having them die. I actually had a multiplayer game like that, well, I guess it's all multiplayer. I had a 2v2 like that recently that was really unpleasant, but this is a potential problem. That CH-118 was not able to get the kill there. There is something red 4 in that area on the left-hand side, and Maws are going to have to fend off these CSDs. There it is. Blowpipes, of course, will get killed by that XA-180's gun pretty quickly. So here's another CH-118. I'd like to see this one go back, but there's no fob, so I guess there's really no point. And this guy's going to have to take up the position of scanning around, looking for things as they start to make it through. Freedom Fighter bombing coming in, again going after the W3T Sokol. I guess if you can see it, go after it, but there is more AA now, so 2 missiles coming out. Could be another 2 ITOs if he took them down, vetted, maybe, but I think that should be 4, and actually it's, yep, double squad of HQ-61As. 1 kill off the Voodoo, probably only 1. We might be able to take a look here. Yeah, only 1, so there is still another HQ that is back there, but I mean, yeah, I think this guy has electric voodoos for days, so he's probably fine. Conqueror's team and the CH-118 can't do anything to it, it's just ATGMs, and unfortunately taken out right before he might have been able to get a side shot on a couple of T-55s, which for this deck doesn't seem to have Cougars in it. I know they're just tank destroyers, I know they're kind of crap, but they are the heaviest armor that a Canada National deck can bring, and that is worth something. Cougar Recon is going up here, and that is a very good thing. I'd put probably a couple of them around the Grizzly CP, just getting into position, and geez, more kills and more kills off the Starfighter. So we're going to fast forward here a little bit, as this game is just, it's an exercise in Canadian planes and getting to know their names and capabilities and all that, but it does get a little bit more monotonous, so we're going to go very quickly through just bombing run after bombing run. Basically, Grizzly's coming in, and it seems to be a staging ground for a second push into Bravo, but nope. They're just going right in. So Maw's going in, Grizzly's pushing up, they're going to get killed by the T-55s, but those rocket pod planes do take their toll, and Starfighter unfortunately killed, but ooh, no Voodoo. There's the Voodoo. Evac ordered, there's the HQ-61As, looks like 3 of them now, moving in a group, actually 2 groups by the look of it, but let's see what else there is to see. Bibang Chung Po, BTRs, yeah, I mean, you're not seeing any of the infantry that he started out with anymore, which has to mean that they're running low, or we just figured they weren't working, so why do it? And there is a cap. So this is interesting. The cap is very rarely going to be here. So looking at this, I would probably guess it's either here, or in the woods there, because you aren't going to want to leave it in the open. It's going to be spotted relatively easily, even by stuff like this. Right, so that's not what you want to do. Electric Voodoo is circling, and there is Führungsstrupp and Freedom Fighter double squad going in. Let's see where the first one's going. B1 Chung Po getting killed, and ooh, first one's a little short. Second one might get it, and I was wrong, by the way. I thought it'd be farther back. Probably wasn't farther back because most people would assume it, and I mean, the most expected position, even if it is technically safest, then becomes unsafe. because of the amount of indirect fire options that you have in this game. So getting creative is always a good idea. T-55s will kill Cougars, but opens up that side armor for a Starfighter. So down he goes. Another Freedom Fighter, another 2 bombs, another 2 dead Mi-8Ts. Just brutal, brutal planes here. Nothing like I've ever seen before, honestly. Holy cow. Would be nice if there was another one able to kill that guy, and I think the HQs are just waiting for this Voodoo to stop circling. It's a little bit interesting. If they were still up, you can sometimes get cheeky one-shots. So when the Voodoo turns, like now, turn it on now, they'll aim, they'll fire, down goes the Voodoo, and then you no longer have to care as much, right? So everything here is dead again. 10 minutes left on the game, about 12, but Cougars moving forward. Canadian Airborne will kill Zwidosi, and it looks like the Cougars and Grizzlies are doing a number farther back as well. Bomber coming in, Yak 38, but the Hornet has been waiting, just not seeing any opportune targets until right then, able to come in and get that kill. So at this point, honestly, if I was Bulgarian, I'd be starting to sweat. It wasn't this way at the beginning, but now it's becoming extremely atrocious for Bulgarian. He just doesn't have the numbers to deal with this sort of thing. I mean, most people don't pack that many air superiority fighters, maybe 2 or 3, 4 possibly, depending on the faction. But that will run out pretty quick. I haven't really seen many of them though, just Avias. You might not have taken one if the HQ-61As and ITOs, I mean, they're very powerful options. They will do a fair number in air defense, and if you don't like fighting up in the air, I mean, it's another distraction, right? It's another portion of the game you have to care about. But what is that? Grizzly CP lost. There was a Red 4 vehicle able to scoot through here. Cougar Recon's trying to answer it, but that does uncap Charlie, and it looks like the only thing... So Bravo and Echo are now capped for Canadian, so it is a 0-0, but that's a T-55. That is not going to die to a Cougar. It's not going to die to a CH-136. There needs to be something bigger that can come get it, and that gunship isn't going to do it either, because those rocket pods there, 2 HE, can't even really, might not even be able to shoot at it, honestly, but 2 Starfighters, let's see what they can do. Looks like the facing is frontal armor, 1 shot, and I can't tell if that was a kill. Interesting, let's take a look. Yeah, that was a kill. Jeez. Okay, fair enough. Rescues in Korima, and I'm eating my words a little bit as there are a couple of these guys left coming out into Bravo toward the end of the game, but those gunships are going to clean things up. CH-136 is going to be scouting out here now, and the Voodoo just making sure there's no HQ-61 action over here, and that with the replacement CV will probably be very difficult to defend against. Particularly, we did miss it here. There were a couple of bombing runs on this side, and then the push of the Highlanders, and the lack of any real semblance of investment in Foxtrot means that's not going to be able to be capped, and Fjongstrup are now spotted by the CH-147. So, gonna have to see... Oh, there's a Freedom Fighter here. He could probably get a bombing run off. Starfighter, looks like Starfighter was going in for a direct fire shot there, and not able to get it. So they're in one of these buildings. It's just a matter of which one, and they're going to be moving around as well. So any bombing run, based on the last known position, is going to be iffy at best, and probably just not successful. Command Squad are dealing with more BTRs, and that is something you have to be watching out for, but Canadian Airborne are nearby, should be okay, and I can't imagine that there are... I can't imagine that the cooldown on planes is going to be all that long. So Avia Bomber coming in, probably looking at that Command Squad. This bomb is big enough to really make sure that they can't really get away. But Hornet does take him down in transit, so that's not going to be successful. And the Voodoo is over here protecting as well. I guess not really. Doesn't really have any capabilities other than Seed, so no great luck there. Freedom Fighter, Bomber might be going in for the CV. Starfighters to back it up. I think he's trying to see... So the Freedom Fighter will drop bombs, anti-air will become spotted, and the Starfighters can shoot them. So I guess that works. Kind of. Maybe. We'll see. Freedom Fighter's bombs are on the way. Gets a kill? Gets a kill. Yeah, that's a kill. And with that, that's just Delta held now for Salty Bulgarian. So as soon as the command infantry stop there, which, I mean, there's Yaks coming in, but now... with Golf decap, there's no more air power called in by the Red 4 player, and once those guys stop, 1 man left, that's going to be a ticking +2 advantage for Canadian once more. So with that, there's just a couple more quick exchanges as more capping attempts go out here. Fox is taken, Bravo's taken, some infantry do deny in Charlie, but this is really going to be all she wrote, unfortunately. So at this point, Bulgarian does surrender, and probably well timed too. I mean, there's a +3 for his opponent, and that air tab is just not to be trifled with. What's interesting too, most of the air-heavy games that you see are going to be things where, I mean, you lose a lot of planes playing like that, but Canadian was actually positive by over 1,000 points, so just a brutal game between captains, and, well, let's take a look at their star players. Maul got a couple of kills, Freedom Fighter got quite a bit with those bombs, Conqueror's team, Avia, shot down on Avia, jeez. Starfighters did very well. I mean, just kills you wouldn't expect, right? Freedom Fighter got the Führungstrupp, that's the command infantry there at the end in the home zone. And look at that page, over a page of kills on the Starfighter. Itos, Mi-8Ts, Ruskazin Korima, T-55s. Holy cow, man. That's got to be at least 500 points of kills off a single Starfighter. Beautiful, beautiful work. A pleasure to watch, a pleasure to do commentary on it, and, well, that's all we've got for you guys today. If you like this sort of thing, do all that standard YouTube stuff, like, share, subscribe, and make me feel a little bit less dirty for asking for it, if you can. And, well, we'll see you again real soon.